Welcome back.
You see some of the pictures tonight on social media.
I'm Civvie. We're still listening to the BBC. We're still driving. That means it's a 5 Live drive here on Split Screen.
We are lucky because
we're continuing to get money. So much money.
The water's been cut off and things like that. But other than that, we haven't been flooded at all. So we've been lucky. But people lower down in the village, they've just been decimated. It's awful. It's awful to see it. It really is. And they were starting to recover from it, as Craig was saying, after last weekend, and then tonight the rain came again. The problem is
gotta take the asphalt, yeah.
There was a big mudslide from higher up.
Ooh, a mudslide.
Up towards Red Tarn, and that came down last weekend. And because that's come down into the beck, obviously the beck is now shallower because there are all stones and boulders and mud filling the beck. So when the rain comes, of course, it bursts its banks that much easier.
Yeah. Just explain, Judith, the geography. The beck runs all the way through, doesn't it? Just off that A road, all the way through Glenridding.
It runs all the way down, all the way through Glenridding, and then ultimately empties down into the lake at the bottom into Oldswater. Yes, and of course
Oldswater Lake. That's a good lake name. Some shit's happened down there.
Weekend, the water was over the bridge and just pouring down. And tonight there were some shops and cafes near where Craig is. I'd say it's about 3-4 foot running past.
Thinking about good lake names.
I'm just looking at a picture taken by the Cumberland and Westmoreland Herald.
Snapped into the other lane.
I don't want to overdo this in any way, shape or form, but it looks like a river is flowing down a street, down a road.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some people in a couple of the premises along there, and along the men that went along this evening, fixed
the
the
men
rope
folk
across,
who went along
like
this
a human
evening.
Chain, and they helped some people across to get everybody out that wanted to get out and get them all safe.
Really, a human chain?
Yes, to get people across, because it was flowing so fast, you see, and you've got somebody elderly, and it doesn't take much for them to be swept over, really.
No, and you don't have a lot of time to achieve that, do you?
Well, no, you don't. No, and we aren't experts. We all just turned up and did what we could. But
so, do you have more emergency workers there now?
Well, yeah. When we were all, as Gary was saying,
luckily, where we're going, apparently, we can just follow the. I assume this is the Autobahn.
And then they asked
we're almost near Nuremberg.
To leave and to go home because
Nuremberg, yeah.
Hanging around, and so we all left and came home. And I hear now that the army have turned up, and they're along there helping. I haven't seen that, but I hear that they have. And so we've all just come home now and had showers, and we're just sort of sitting by the phones and talking and doing whatever we can do to sort of comfort people.
Sure. I mean, the only positive from this grim situation is, it seems to me, just how wonderfully people are coming together to help each other.
I think that said 80, but I wasn't paying attention.
And they've brought water out for everybody, and we've had food banks from Tesco and Sainsbury's, and the army have brought those along. They truly have been outstanding, the army, I have to say.
Man, I could go for some food bank right now.
It's like
I don't care what it is, just put it in me.
Everybody has pulled together.
Could have some tea. I've turned my teapot back on. I turned it off this morning because I have one of those teapots that just, well, it's not a teapot. It's like those Japanese tea warmer or hot water heater things where it's like a hot water heater.
I'll tell you what, Judith,
and you just leave it plugged in and there's always hot water.
John Hammond's joined us from the BBC Weather Centre, so let's see whether John can shed any light on what the weather is doing in that part of the world at the moment. John, hi.
Yeah, hi Phil.
Hey John, what's up?
Well, in the short term, there's more. It's still pouring with rain actually across the lakes, and there's a front straddled across Cumbria right now, and that's been responsible for the fresh flooding. We've had about 30 millimetres of rain on
shit,
Shapwell,
that's a foot of rain.
Been enough to.
It's actually snowing here.
30
finally.
Millimeters of rain in that part of the world will be fairly inconsequential.
It's big fluffy snow, so it's probably going to end up actually staying. We had a seed of snow yesterday, and then big fluffy snow today.
In and around Oldswater, for example, there is a back edge to this rain, and it's not that far away. So by my estimations, at a top end,
so we can
I'd say another 3 or 4 hours of rain at worst.
Say that it's finally snowed up here.
Through in the early hours.
Oh, if you're a watcher of this video series, you'll know a while ago that I was talking about, a long while ago, the job place that's supposed to help you get a job. So they called me today. They're like, hey, do you have a job? I'm like, no. They're like, oh, we can help you. I'm like, no, you can't. Because the government didn't approve my funding. so
once
they
we've
can't
got
do
this front out of
anything
the way
other
through the
than be
early
like,
hours,
hey,
there won't
we have
be any more
jobs.
prolonged heavy
It's like,
rain.
yeah, that's
We
great.
think for at least another couple of days, just a few showers. Now, into the weekend, there is another weather front coming in from
It's
the
just a bad
southwest,
time
so
for that.
we are quite concerned about fresh, heavy and persistent rain turning
And it
out
doesn't
during
help
the
that I
course
don't
of
drive. I
late
don't like to
Saturday
drive.
into Sunday.
Which is funny
Now,
because
that's
I'm
still
driving a
some way
truck.
off, Phil, and the models
This,
are still sort of
it's not
wrestling
the
with
act of
detail,
driving I
but,
don't like.
certainly
It's
that's one to
the
watch as we go into the weekend. But yes, some good news.
it's
Another
the
couple of days
not
of
knowing
nice
what the
enjoyment.
other people are going to
But,
do,
certainly another few hours yet before it stops with the persistent rain.
and
another sort of 2,
the
3,
chance
at
of
max
loss.
4, I'd say.
Right, okay. John, thank you very much. John Hammond with the latest picture.
It's the calculated risk
Respite then.
that
on
just
its
makes
way,
me
although
not pleased
exactly
about
even
driving.
Another perhaps 3 or 4 hours max, says
So-
John, and then maybe a couple of days with just some showers.
It's just how it is.
Let's speak
It's just a
to
bad
Dennis,
time
who's
to
a
look
parish
for
councillor
work right now.
in
I
Glenridding.
mean,
Hi, Dennis.
it's what,
Well,
almost
first of all, what do
Christmas,
you make of the forecast?
so managers are busy with other shit.
Well, at least we're going to have some respite for a couple of days.
They got
perhaps,
other stuff to do
which will enable more
than
mopping up
hire
of the
somebody
second event.
who's probably useless.
But what sounds like maybe more prolonged rain Saturday and Sunday, I fear that we will get another flood, because until the beck is properly excavated and re-engineered by the Environment Agency, I think we're going to be prone to these floods every time we
Do
get
we need
a
more gas?
prolonged
Then we
wet
just stop
spell.
for gas. We're gonna need
Just
to sleep
explain
soon,
the
though.
beck to people. They might even be unfamiliar with the word, but this is the river that runs through, isn't it?
Yeah, it's called the Beck. I mean, it's the local name for a river stream. Stream's probably not the best description
You're underplaying it a bit, stream, isn't it? Because
Yes,
it's
it
bigger
is.
than
Certainly
that.
when you see the water that we've had come down
Yeah.
it in the last couple of days, or in the last 4 or 5 days. In effect, it's the water course that runs out from beneath Helvellyn, which is one of the highest mountains in the Lake District, and it runs down the valley straight through the centre of Glenridding, and then out into Ullswater.
Man,
And on Saturday,
thinking
we had
about
a significant
it's really
landslide,
it's certain
landslip
things
up
about
the
me
valley.
quitting my last
And
job is
that
unfortunate.
has brought a whole load
Pretty
of
unlikely I'm
trouble,
gonna get to see a lot of those mountain
debris,
ranges and stuff
down
again,
the water course,
unless
in
I start
effect,
driving and
making
go
it
out
much
there
shallower
myself.
than it normally is, and therefore
That was the
very
fun
prone
part,
to
just
flooding if we get
going out
prolonged
in the mountains and
wet
stuff.
spell that we've had.
And so whose job is it now? We
Great
know the army
photography.
Are there, you're a parish councillor. We know there's a county council involved
I
as
guess
well.
for my
Whose job
photography.
is it
Some
to try and
people,
shore up
'cause
the
I don't like
beck,
taking
to
pictures of
perhaps
people.
protect people from
I don't know.
further,
I don't know why I
tribulations
don't
on
like
the
taking
weekend?
pictures of
I
people.
believe that is the Environment Agency's responsibility.
Probably just have to do it more.
In terms of that work.
And are you talking to them as a parish councillor, or is that other people will do that?
No, we have done. We have been in contact
Although
with them,
I
and
do
they have
live
been out. I
like
mean, their
right by the
primary,
mountains. I live
concern
like
over
an
the
hour
weekend
from the Rocky
was
Mountains.
Pollution and
So,
issues with sewage.
not even an
because of
hour.
Flooding,
Probably like
because there's a water treatment
drive out like
sewage
45
plant
minutes and you'll
just,
be right in the middle
a
of the
couple
Rocky
meters
Mountains.
up
Or
the river or the beck from the lake.
I guess the
and
Americans
that
might
was
call
their
them the
primary
Northern Rocky
concern.
Mountains.
And there was a lot of
But I've been to
erosion
the Northern
and,
Rocky Mountains,
parts of the roadway
like
had
up
slipped
in
into the
where I would
beck
consider as the north.
by their plant. But in effect,
Which
what
is
we
pretty
need
far away
is
from me.
significant re-engineering of the riverbed up a fair way up the valley. And I think because unless we get that, I think we're going to be prone to flooding every time there is a prolonged wet spell.
Whilst you're talking to
Yeah.
us, Dennis, we're just
Damn,
hearing
baby.
Patterdale
You got a
Mountain
prolonged
Rescue
wet
and
spell.
Langdale Mountain Rescue teams are currently working in
Shit.
Glenridding alongside police, military and the fire service. That's been brought to us
Oh, you would.
Yeah.
by the Lake District Search and Mountain Rescue Association. What about the 50 million flood fund then that George Osborne pledged this lunchtime? What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, it would certainly help in terms of funding, I think, a lot of the work that needs to be done in the beck. But I think the immediate help that's needed is whatever funding and grants and support mechanisms we can get to support the people who
Can't tell if there's anyone behind me.
Because many of those, in fact, almost all of them will have now experienced their second flood in 4 days. Having cleaned
Forward.
up the first time, they're going to be now doing it again.
Past these other
tomorrow,
jerks.
hopefully.
You got a limiter?
It's
Use it.
heartbreaking to see the damage and the mess that's caused in those premises along by the beck. And there are some. I mean, I've been inquiring today about some of the funding
Income,
organisations
$1,800.
that
Please
are
work
there
harder,
have got
Peter
Hundreds of thousands
P.
available. Unfortunately, as a parish council,
Petterer?
we're not.
I don't know what your name is.
Eligible to apply for a number of those. What we need to be doing is helping the individuals who've been affected by this to get the forms filled in and get the support.
Sorry, I was looking at IRC.
As much as quickly as we can.
Dennis, stay with us if you can. I'll be back with you very shortly. At 10:52, we've got breaking news tonight.
Oh,
and it's bad news
breaking
again
news.
for Glenridding, near Ullswater in Cumbria, where police, military, mountain rescue, firefighters are all trying to battle further floodwaters tonight after the Glenridding Beck River, located at the southern end of Ullswater, burst its banks on two sides.
What's the breaking part of
Tides
this news?
of water up to 3 feet deep in places. And Jonathan Holdsworth joins us. Jonathan was helping with efforts to stop the flooding in Glenridding. And your wife, Jonathan's a police officer, and I understand she's still out there. Have you heard from her?
I've not, no, unfortunately there's no mobile phone signal here, but Kerry actually, my wife Kerry, had to go on shift at 9 o'clock, so I had headed back then to look after our kids, but she was walking along the Paradale and hoping to
Police
get
mom.
before coming out to
Police
pick her up
mom.
and take her into Glenridding to help with the kind of coordination.
And what were you doing earlier this evening?
Well, we got a Facebook call from some of our friends in Glenridding between 7 and 8 o'clock, just asking for people to head down there with shovels and do what they could. But it was apparent when we got there, me and several people turned up around about 8 o'clock, and it was already, picking up speed. Within the space of, I would say,
No
4
gas,
minutes,
well, we could use sleep, but it's not going to happen.
Standing up, which is why I think
next spot we'll have to have a nap.
Mentioned that they'd set up ropes and a human chain at one point to help people across. Water, when it gets beyond a certain depth, will just take your feet away if you're not careful. So yeah, it was terrifying to see, really.
I need those feet. Don't take them away.
Is there a
Police
feeling
mom.
of why us again so soon after the weekend?
I think part of the advice people give you when you get a flood is don't think it won't happen again. And I don't think any of us were resting on our laurels. But looking at the forecast, we knew it was going to.
I was going to stop there, but I didn't think it'd be that close.
What we didn't really anticipate was how, as Dennis just said, how much the Beck floor had risen. I.e., there's so much stone in there that
next
water
one
was going to always cause more damage. So it was,
let's get in that lane in case another one shows up.
I would say that the Beck that's next to where I am, I'm at kind of the outskirts of Glenridding near Patterdale, and I'm right.
Are they saying
Grisdale
bank?
Beck. Now on Saturday, Grisdale Beck did exactly what Glenridding Beck did, and it tore through the place where I live and went right through the estate that I live on. This time Grisdale Beck isn't showing signs of doing that, and it's because Grisdale Beck still has the depth that it had, whereas Glenridding Beck had so many boulders coming down the valley that it's just full. There's not enough space for the water in there, so I totally back Dennis up on that one.
Dennis, have you heard of people who still need rescuing and recovery?
No, not really. I think the area where the major flooding occurred tonight.
Some weird shit going on there. I
People
wonder if
moved
these.
out
Ooh,
from,
yeah, $10,000.
the Glenridding
I
Hotel
wonder if
were
these
struggling.
are pre-recorded or if they're
But I think
actually
what happened
one-to-one.
is
Because
most
these guys are
people
really
have
nice
moved
on the
up to
phone.
upper floors in the properties that they're in, which is what they did at the weekend. To be
Maybe
honest.
they were pre-briefed.
I'm not aware-
It's like, hey
I'm
yo,
not
till I say your
aware of
name, don't say
anybody at the
anything. If I say the other guy's name, don't say anything.
Trapped or at the mercy of the floods.
What about you, Jonathan?
No, I mean, again, when I was there with all the locals, just doing what we could, a lot of people were showing concern. We hadn't seen some of the people living in the shops and the houses on the other side of the Beck, but we couldn't see anybody at the windows, and yeah, exactly as Dennis said, I don't know of anybody that's actually stuck in there. I mean, the worst case scenario is they'll go upstairs and they'll sit it out. It'll be horrendous for them, but if anybody is in there, go upstairs, simple as that.
Have you got power where you are?
Yeah, we have. We've got power down at this end of Glenridding. Basically, having had 4 days where we had virtually nothing, we've suddenly got everything except for mobile phone signal here. I don't know how long that'll last in this weather, but it was, I don't know whether any of your previous interviewees have said anything, but after several days of being cut off, it was quite emotional suddenly having the wave.
Oh, my stomach is grumbling.
Today I had
I was going to record all these videos right close to each other.
Eden Rivers Trust and a lad that came over from a pub.
But maybe I gotta have some lunch or dinner. What time is it?
You see all the
It's 3 o'clock.
together, and it's
Dinner.
And then there's the Ullswater
So I'm
Flood
probably
Fund
gonna go to
Just
sleep
Giving.
soon.
I think they've already raised £6,000 with a target of 10,000. It really is, it's definitely overwhelming.
Yeah, well, because I suppose
I gotta
when you were cut
render,
off and
or I gotta
we had
edit,
those messages,
render,
you literally felt
and then upload
emotionally
at
cut off as
least
well as
the last
physically cut
video.
Absolutely felt that it was nobody's fault,
Tonight.
and I don't think anybody around here is blaming anybody for this, because it's been on
Let's
such
see.
a kind of biblical scale. Nobody could have done anything about it particularly, but we did feel a little bit ignored simply because we were cut off from everybody. You know, we were able to watch the news and look at Keswick and Kendall, etc., and think, what about us? But I'll tell you what, nobody's complained. No, everybody
Can I get to 90?
has just
There
got
we go.
on with it, and there's been some real.
It's single kilometer is important.
There's a real Dunkirk spirit here, but I've certainly never witnessed anything quite like it in my life, and I've been here for several floods. You know, 2009 was bad, but this is, I don't think I've ever been through anything like this before.
What about you?
Might as well
Dennis?
get some gas while we're here too.
I would agree wholeheartedly with John. It's and it's just so soul destroying to have it happen 4 days later. For the people who had it, who they must have a belly full of it. I really feel for them. And so what
Fill that
we're
gas
trying
up.
to do is to access whatever funds we can individually for them from people like the Cumbria Foundation grants for flood damage. Now we can't do that as a council, but we can help the people as individuals to see if they can get financial support to get their businesses and their lives up and running again.
And presumably you've lived through previous floods like Jonathan.
Yes. Yeah,
How does this
fortunately.
Nap
compare?
time.
Fortunately for us, we were actually in the
6
US on
a.m.
holiday in 2009 when the last floods were there, but our daughter was here then and was evacuated from Keswick and stuck in this house for a while we were away. But no, it's certainly nothing on the scale that we've had this time, or the frequency. To have it twice in 4 days has been really heartbreaking.
Well, our thoughts are with you all, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. It's nice of you to do
Oh,
that.
geez,
What's
we
going
gained like
on.
$100,000 while I was
Counselor
sleeping.
Dennis Henderson. And before that, Jonathan
Shit.
Holdsworth, who's been helping with rescue efforts, along with what
We get a little
Dennis
better,
was
and we can
describing
almost
earlier.
buy
We're
a
human
new
train
area
at one
every
point
time we go
performed
out.
Street to help people through the floodwater, which was moving
Jesus.
at such a pace, it was just taking people's feet away. We've now got mountain rescue, military, police, and firefighters all in the village of Glen Ridding in Ullswater as they continue to make sure that everybody is safe. The advice to those who can is to stay in their houses. And Cumbria Police this evening telling 5 Live that whilst it experiences heavy rainfall, the area of Cumbria that is, people should not drive and only travel if it's absolutely an emergency. And those are the words from Cumbria Police. We'll continue to keep you up to date on
Still
the
saying,
in
ice cream
Glen
is an
Ridding,
emergency.
Ullswater this evening here on
I don't know what
5
you're
Live.
talking about,
And,
officer.
the rest of the day's news after 11 o'clock.
Fucking toll roads.
First for breaking news and the best live sport. This is BBC 5 Live.
11 o'clock across the UK Wednesday night. Phil Williams here with you on 5 Live. This is the late news hour.
And the main news on 5 Live, more flooding in Cumbria.
And in sport, Chelsea and Arsenal have both qualified for the last 16
Are they?
of the Champions
Do they
League.
only
So
do
after
news
the
at
bulletin,
night?
The NHS has failed to investigate the unexpected deaths of more than 1,000 vulnerable people. So we'll have the details on that report, which the BBC has seen. And more than 300,000 of you have signed a petition calling for Donald Trump to be banned from entering the UK. We'll hear from one MP who wants to block him and an American church leader who's backing him all the way.
This is BBC 5 Live.
With the very latest BBC News on 5 Live, Nick Hatfield.
Police, the army, and firefighters are
I'm interested in this
evacuating
Donald
people
Trump
from their homes in a
business.
village in Cumbria,
That's a little
which
closer
has been
than I
hit
wanted
by
to be.
further flooding in the wake of Storm Desmond. A river has burst its banks and topped flood defences in Glen Ridding after more heavy rain. Gary Wilson
More heavy
runs the
rain.
Ramblers Bar.
Jason.
It's just devastating to see other businesses, obviously close friends, people we've known a lot of years, just suffering like this after they'd worked so hard over the last 2 days to get things cleaned up and ready to start thinking about let's move forward and get the businesses up and running. Just for this to happen so tonight, it's just devastating, really.
Well, the government has announced a £50 million fund for people affected by the flooding. Households will be able to apply for up to £5,000 each, and businesses will be helped too.
£5,000 each. That's not a lot.
Commissioned by NHS England has found a mental
But
health trust
better than nothing.
failed to investigate the unexpected deaths of more than 1,000 people over 4 years. Southern Health NHS Trust has accepted its processes in the past have not been good enough. The report was ordered after 18-year-old Connor Sparrowhawk drowned following an epileptic
Sparrowhawk.
seizure in a bath at one of his hospitals. His mother is Sarah Ryan.
There is no reason why in 2015 a report like this should come out. No reason at all, and that, you know, the board and the senior team are completely responsible for this. Utterly shameful. They should have gone already. They've read the report.
French police have identified the third attacker from the Bataclan music venue during the Paris terror attacks. He was 23-year-old Fouad Mohamed Agad, a French national. A prisoner has been arrested on suspicion of the murder of another inmate at HMP Peterborough. Police were called to the prison this morning. Delegates at the UN.
How do you arrest
talks
somebody in
Paris
prison?
Are studying the draft
Or
text
take you to
of
more
what
prison.
many hope will be a new global agreement to cut carbon emissions. Representatives from almost 200 countries are trying
Google.
to agree a deal. Our science editor David Schuckman is there.
For basically 2 decades, international talks on climate change have essentially got nowhere. So what happened today is pretty significant. The French
Google just popped up with OK Google
came up with what they see
for some reason.
as the
I don't know
basics
why.
of what could become
Asking about
the
prison.
first global agreement to tackle climate change. It's got lots of gaps. There's plenty that people don't like about it, but many say it's a promising start.
A university in Aberdeen has revoked Donald Trump's honorary degree because of his call for Muslims to be temporarily banned from entering the United States. A spokesperson from Robert Gordon University says his comments are incompatible with their ethos and values. And Angela Merkel has become the first woman to be named as Time magazine's Person of the Year in 29 years, says the German Chancellor has provided steadfast moral leadership. Ben Goldberger is Time's Nations editor.
To hold the Eurozone together by leading the response to the Greek debt crisis, to lead the Western response to Putin's incursion on Ukraine, and then to really open the doors in an unprecedented way to the flood of migrants fleeing the Syrian war and other conflicts, means that Merkel has been center stage for many of the most pivotal debates in the world this year.
Ellen Smith has the sport.
Arsenal
Tell me
and
about it.
Chelsea will join Manchester City in Champions League knockout
I heard
stages.
Manchester
Olivier
City.
Giroud
It's like,
scored
whoa,
a hat-trick
dude.
as Arsenal
Throwing
beat
down.
Olympiacos 3-0 in Athens, and Chelsea qualify as group winners after beating Porto 2-0 at Stamford Bridge. It wasn't such a good night for former England and Manchester United defender Gary Neville, though. His first game in charge of Valencia ended in defeat. The Spanish club lost 2-0 to Lyon. Elsewhere, Swansea City are on the lookout for a new manager after sacking Gary Monk. The club have won just one of their last 11 games. The BBC has learned that the IAAF's awarding of the 2021 World Athletics Championships to Eugene is being investigated by French prosecutors.
That was straight up dangerous. No one should ever do that.
With the sportswear giant Nike, was controversially given the event without the usual bidding process. Olympic long jump champion Greg Rutherford says he has changed his mind about pulling out of the BBC Sports Personality of the Year Awards over controversial
I already made the joke about changing your mind about pulling out, didn't I?
Rutherford has confirmed
It's
that
tough,
he will
man.
attend the event in Belfast next month. And
We're
Andy
almost there.
Murray's former coach Miles
80
McLagan
kilometers?
has started
Oh,
working
jeez.
with the world's
Drive
highest
in
ranked
the...
teenager.
It said that this would take me about an hour and a half
Is 19
on
years
the
old and currently ranked
website.
44th in the world.
Lied to me.
This is BBC 5 Live on digital, online, smartphone and tablet.
The weather, more rain, sometimes heavy in the north. We'll move south overnight. It will feel cold in some places. We could see some snow over northern hills, windy as well. And then for the rest of Thursday, the band of rain will continue slowly south during the day, reaching southern England by the afternoon. Cold elsewhere with sunshine and blustery showers.
BBC 5 Live.
Every Sunday, 5 Live Investigate gets to the heart of the issues that affect you.
We try to find the depth of the problem.
They've let us down. They've really let us down.
This week, we're looking to counterfeit Christmas presents and the people
Oh.
trying to sell you fake goods over
Fake
the festive
goods.
season.
What a
5 Live
jerk.
Investigates, Sunday morning at 11. Or listen to
What a
every
tosser.
episode in the
I think
series
that's,
so far
that's what you
at
might say.
bbc.co.uk
I don't know what that means, but
/5live.
it doesn't sound good.
With Phil Williams on 5 Live.
6 minutes past 11, we'll continue to keep you up to date on the situation in Glenridding near Ullswater this evening.
It's underwater, the whole city,
services continue
town.
to do their
There's
work
two
there. Let's bring you some
two
other
stores and a
up-to-date
pub.
news, and the NHS has failed to investigate over 1,000 unexpected deaths of mental health and learning disability patients in the last 4 years. That's according to a report seen by the BBC this evening. It points to a failure of leadership at Southern NHS Foundation Trust and says deaths of mental health patients were not properly examined. Our social affairs correspondent Michael Buchanan has this exclusive story.
Southern Health is one of the country's largest mental health trusts, providing services to around 45,000 people.
There's a mountain over there that was
but
trying to
some
load in.
disability services in other places as well, such as Oxford and Buckinghamshire. NHS England asked a large auditing firm called Mazars to look at how the trust investigated deaths, and their findings are appalling. They found that over a 4-year period between 2011 and 2015, there were 1,454 unexpected deaths of service users, and that is classed as people dying earlier than anticipated. Of those, only 272 were reviewed by the Trust as critical incidents, but just 195, or 13%, were treated as a serious incident requiring investigation, properly investigated in other words, and the likelihood of a death being investigated dependent on the type of patient.
It's an airplane.
Died.
Must
For
be
instance,
near civilization. We're near Klagenfurt.
Deaths in adult mental health were examined,
My favorite
but
place.
just 1% of learning disabilities deaths were investigated, and for older people with psychiatric problems, those aged over 65, the chance of an unexpected death being investigated was just 0.3%. They also found that those people who died unexpectedly and had learning disabilities died on average at 56 years of age, over 7 years younger than the national average. Even when investigations did take place, they were of poor quality and often extremely late, and there was little effort to engage with the families. In nearly 2/3 of cases, there was no family involvement, and that was certainly the experience of Jim Lynock and his partner Andrea. Their daughter Tessa died in 2013, aged 20, following years of contact with mental health services, mainly for emotional problems and self-harming. Hampshire County Council, who were also looking after Tessa at the time of her death, were severely criticised by the coroners, but Jim Lynock places as much blame on Southern Health.
She didn't get an assessment until the middle of August. This is a couple of weeks before she died. And when you look at it, all they did was focus on her physical disabilities and put it all down to that. They didn't look at any records. And I think to us it was clear that it was a...
We're almost there to Klagenfurt!
Their primary concern. It wasn't Tessa's well-being. It just paints a sorry picture that we felt that if she'd had help, maybe she'd still be with us.
Now, the consequences of these failures are clear in the report. There was a lack of transparency, which led to a lack of effective scrutiny.
Apparently I've
of the
never been to
trust.
Klagenfurt
But
before.
perhaps more importantly, says the report, there were missed opportunities to learn from the deaths. As to why this happened, the report is clear. It was the
You're just
fault
driving
of
down the middle of the
board
road,
and
whatever.
senior leadership. At one point, the report says there was no, quote, effective management of deaths or investigations, while, quote, there has not been effective focus or leadership from the board. Even when the board did ask relevant questions, the report says they were constantly reassured by executives that processes were robust
You
and
can't just
investigations
blow
were
through
thorough.
the...
Quote, this is contrary to our findings, says the researchers. The
The,
report was ordered following
lights.
the death of 18-year-old Connor Sparrowhawk, so I asked his mother, Sarah Ryan, for her reaction to the findings.
There is no reason why in 2015 a report like this should come out. No reason at all. And that, the board and the senior team are completely responsible for this. Utterly shameful.
Having spent months looking into how Southern Health failed to investigate so many deaths, the report's authors seem to agree with Sarah Ryan. This is a quote from it. They say, "We have little confidence that the Trust has fully recognised the need for it to improve its reporting and investigation of deaths." However, this evening, Southern Health told us they have serious concerns about the report's interpretation of the evidence, while they fully accept that the reporting processes following a patient's death have not always been good enough.
We're gonna make it.
And they say that they have now taken considerable measures to improve their processes.
1 km. No, just leave
Michael
the trailer
Buchanan
here.
Reporting at 11:10, the director of the FBI says the couple behind the San Bernardino attack last Wednesday that killed 14 people were radicalised before they started dating. James Comey says Tashfeen Malik and her husband Saeed Farouk spoke of jihad and martyrdom during conversations on an online dating service. This was back in late 2013.
We also believe they were inspired by foreign terrorist organizations. We're working very hard to understand exactly their association and the source of their inspiration. We're also working very hard to understand whether there was anybody else involved with assisting them, with supporting them, with equipping them. And we're working very, very hard to understand, did they have other plans, either for that day or earlier, and that work continues.
That was helpful.
Following that incident last week, the US presidential campaign candidate Donald Trump has been widely criticized for calling for a total and complete
Just in time,
shutdown
too.
of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives
Victory!
can figure out what the hell is going on. So far, more than 300,000 people have signed a petition here.
Go to work.
calling for Donald Trump to be
Oh, I
barred
apparently
from entering
tapped the
UK.
trailer.
And
Probably as I
Scotland's
was
First
taking
Minister
those corners.
Nicola Sturgeon
We
has
leveled
dropped
up,
the
too.
American billionaire from his position as a business ambassador for Scotland.
Donald Trump's comments in the last few days have been repugnant, reprehensible, and I think have offended the vast majority of people, not just in the United States, but across the world. Now, being a global Scot means that you're in a very privileged position. You've been tasked with the job of being almost a business ambassador for the country overseas and for promoting the reputation of Scotland. And I don't think that somebody who has expressed the views Donald Trump expressed about Muslims is somebody who's suitable to do that kind of job.
No, he's not.
Nicola Sturgeon. Let's speak to Tulip Sadiq, who's the Labour MP for Hampstead and Kilburn. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
No, I didn't really want to quit the game,
one of these
but
signatories on the
we've quit the game. So I'm going to let you go. We drove that truck a distance. And tomorrow, or right now, we're going to drive a different truck some other distance. Listen to the BBC 5. That's going to be tomorrow, so there's going to be new BBC 5. Well, tomorrow for me. Also tomorrow for you. Unless you're watching on the playlist. Thank you very much.